So I went to Mexico in November for a family vacation with my stepdad's family, actually. So we had never been on vacation together, and it was just really exciting for everyone to go. And we actually went to two different resorts in that time, just the way that it worked out. The first resort, actually, this girl fell. I don't think I've told you this, but this girl fell and cut her hand open to the bone. And I ended up getting to help like wrap it all up for her and clean it out. And so that was very eventful, but I did not anticipate my next adventure, which was the next resort. I was walking back from the beach and I was late for dinner. And this woman it kind of looked like she was trying to get out of the pool. And it looked like there were some people trying to help her out of the pool, but then we got a little bit closer and she was not conscious and there was people trying to get her out of the pool. And so my mom and I looked at each other and it was kind of like a nonverbal, like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Something is not okay. Like you have a feeling in the air. And so she kind of took everything out of my hands, and I guess she was just like, hey, go see what you can do, go see if you can help. And so it was kind of like her that pushed me to go over there. And so I went over there and I like looked, and I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Like it's not something that school prepares you for, and it's not something I've seen in the hospital. And she was blue, like straight purple, and she looked like she had special effects drawn on her, like from a movie. And so I kind of looked around, nobody really knew what to do. Her friend was screaming. And I checked her pulse and there wasn't one. And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, here I go. This is what I've been trained to do. It's time to actually do it. And so I kind of just got down and I started CPR on her. And then more people kind of started showing up. And wow, this is weird to think about this. I haven't thought about this for a while. But so more people started showing up. And I was asking if anybody knew CPR, and nobody knew CPR. Nobody had any medical training. Nobody knows what an AED is if you're not trained on it. So there was no AED, there was no lifeguards, there was nobody that knew CPR. There was a few people that spoke English, a few that spoke Spanish. Her and her friend both spoke Spanish, so there was just kind of a lot of chaos going on. And I did CPR for probably like 6 minutes, which, I mean, if you've ever done CPR, you know that's a long time.
It's a long time to do CPR.
That's a long time. But it didn't feel like that. I kind of had to have someone tell me after, but it did not feel like that because the adrenaline was just pumping so fast and so hard. And I was like, okay, what can I do like now? Like, what do I do now? Like, I'm doing CPR. I actually had just had my Code Blue simulation, which I think all of the nurses are being required to go over to the Zeal Hospital at the University of Kansas Medical Center and do a Code Blue training. So it's kind of just like a in-hospital CPR, you know, you call the code and the rapid and all of that. Anyway, I had just done that, and so I had the muscle memory for CPR down like that because I had done it so many times in that simulation. So I was kind of able to stop and think about, okay, what else do I need to do? Like, okay,
While you were still doing
while
the
I was doing the CPR, yes.
You were able to think about other things.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I was thinking, like, okay, well, it would be really nice if there was somebody else that knew how to do CPR here, but there wasn't. So oxygen, I told someone to go get oxygen, to go get, or to call the 911. Oh my gosh, what else? It kind of all happened really, really fast, but also really slow. And so thinking back on it and trying to think about exactly what happened is kind of difficult. So for the simulation that we did in school, you practiced walking into a code. You realized that the patient was coding and you kind of had to call it and had to address everybody else coming in. You kind of were the delegator and the leader in the situation. So what was different about the situation was that in that simulation that we learned, there was one person coming in to finish CPR or to hand off on CPR. There was another person coming in to get the backboard, another person coming in for the oxygen, another person coming in with a code cart full of things that you need. So the thing that was different about being in Mexico and being at the pool side of a hotel, not a hospital, is that I didn't have that person coming in and the next person coming in, and I need this person to do this and this to this. And so I was kind of there doing it all by myself. So I was leading myself with no resources besides my hands. I mean, all that I could do was CPR, and all that I could do was compressions. And I've never done compressions before on a person. So this was the first time for me, and it was really kind of scary, honestly. I mean, I didn't hesitate because I felt like I knew what I was doing, but there was things that happened that I was not prepared for, like breaking ribs. That happened, and I kind of jumped a little bit at it because it kind of feels like popping a back. What else happened? So when she kind of started coming to, the water coming out of her mouth was like a fountain, and it was, I mean, we don't hear that in school and when we learn. Yeah, so after that amount of time, you could tell that she was coming back. I watched her color literally, I mean it, again, like special effects from a movie, I watched her color come back like I've never seen. And I checked, and she had a pulse again. And so that was very relieving. And I sat there, and at that time, right after CPR, the lifeguard showed up with oxygen. And so we put oxygen on her, and we, stayed with her. And then the ambulance came, the paramedics came, and they kind of took over, and I stepped back, and I almost passed out. I had to sit down because I physically could not stand. I don't know if I was tired or in shock, or it was just a lot going on and a lot to process. One of the things that was really difficult was that the paramedics did not speak English, and I don't speak Spanish, and they were trying to ask me all of these questions about, I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. I was on my way to dinner, and then I had to turn around because I forgot my floppy hat at the pool. So I had to go back, get my floppy hat, and then I ended up going to the restaurant, and they let me in, and my family was kind of just sitting there, and they were kind of mad at us because we were late, but then we told them what happened, and they were all really relieved that I think everything just happened at the right time and the right place. So we had one of the hospital employees keeping in touch with us just because the morning after that happened, I left. So she was, the last I heard, she was in the ICU, but they had extubated her. She was conscious, she was responding, and she was gonna make a full recovery. People tell me that I saved someone's life, and I logically know it, but it just sounds so weird to hear. It's definitely one of those fight or flight things, and you don't know how you're going to respond until you're in that situation, and I'm really, really happy that that is how I chose to respond, and that my response was not to freeze or to run away, but to go and help, and to be able to help, and also to be able to think critically throughout that whole situation. I think that gives me way more confidence than I had. I would never have been able to do this without my training from the University of Kansas School of Nursing. I mean, they really give you so many opportunities to practice, and not just to study and learn, but to actually physically go in and practice. I mean, we have simulations all the time. We work with the med students and other students, and we all kind of do this interdisciplinary thing with mannequins, and it's very realistic, and so I think that that kind of helps you better in real life situations. I'm so excited about graduating. I'm very stressed out studying for the NCLEX right now, but as soon as that is over with, then it's going to be a huge breath of fresh air, and yeah.
To run!
Can we change? You need help?
Oh, no.
Yes. Does anybody else know CPR?
No, madam.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Okay, she's coming. Keep going, please.
Oh. Oh. Ay, comadre.
Don't move.
Oh, no.
you out. Tell me, okay?
Will you take my hat off? No puedes llamar.
Ahí viene, ya viene.